Okay, let's bring in Phar Kim Beng, who's in Kuala Lumpur. He's a senior fellow at the University of Malaysia, Asia-Europe Institute. Welcome to you, sir. Let's look forward then, 60 days in which to hold a snap presidential election. Are we likely to see a change of political party in terms of who the president is, or who would you look at as being the likely leader coming up?
The likely leader coming up is most definitely the person who has been leading the opposition movement to actually make sure that this impeachment actually happens. Now, as to who that final leader will be, no one actually knows. But Koreans would definitely support someone who has been at the forefront of making sure that President Yoon was impeached, because what he did in South Korea was a total shock, not only to South Korea, but to the entire world, if not Asia, especially in light of the fact that you have had a lot of leaders who have become very authoritarian in nature over the last few years.
Yoon said that his decision to impose martial law was a shock tactic, effectively, not something he intended to follow through on long term, to keep the soldiers there, to keep a grip on power, but it was almost his own form of protest at the way he said, among other things, the opposition party was strangling democracy, because the Democratic Party opposition had this majority in Parliament, they were thwarting his attempts to rule the country. Do you think there was any justification to that complaint?
There is some justification to that complaint, but not entirely. From the research of my university, International Islamic University, for instance, we have found out that South Korea's doctors have a tendency of protesting against whatever contracts that they have been given, or services that they have not been accommodated. And it was the result of a long series of protests from medical doctors in South Korea that probably pushed President Yoon to the decision to try to restore certain degree of order. Now, we have to bear in mind that South Korea may not have a very long history of democracy, but South Korea has a very determined and tenacious intention on making sure that their democracy in the whole of Asia is the most viable and strongest one, because what they are facing is actually the communist threat from the north. And within that context, if anyone is actually, in a rather ironical manner, if anyone is actually happy with the results today, that person would be Chairman Kim Jong-un, who is actually a serious adversary to President Yoon due to his pro-American stance against North Korea.
Well, this was another one of Yoon's complaints. He said that the martial law was also directed against what he called the pro-North Korea sympathizers. He believed that that was a growing problem in the country. Again, based on what you've just said, do you think there was some credibility to his claim?
On that particular claim, I don't think there was any credibility at all. He was just trying to pull some wool over the eyes of the people in South Korea, because we have to keep in mind that South Korea is extremely stable in light of any kind of provocations from North Korea. Given the fact that South Korea enjoyed that kind of stability, there was no reason whatsoever to actually try to unilaterally declare martial law by using North Korea as the excuse or justification. It was more domestic rather than external. And that is one of the reasons why the judges did not give him the leeway or the benefit of the thought. All he needed was just one judge out of the 8 to free himself from this conundrum, but he didn't get it, unfortunately.
No, unanimous decision, 8-0 in the Constitutional Court against Yoon Suk-yeol. Thank you so much. Phar Kim Beng is my guest, Senior Fellow at the University of Malaysia, Asia-Europe Institute.